All right, let's get our Facebook friends and family up in here before it's officially time to go. Got a couple spinning wheels here. 1 and 2. Welcome in, welcome in. It is Wednesday night, second ever episode of Mile High Insiders on Wednesday. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, good friend and co-host on Mile High Insiders, Luke Patterson. Luke, how are you doing this fine Wednesday?
I'm doing good, man. Prime time. We're back on the air for our second prime time show in our Wednesday slot. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. You can find Nick Kendell, Scott, and I rocking these very airwaves. But I'm good, man. You know why I'm good? Because we're starting to get some resolution. And I'm
Mhm.
talking about the Denver Broncos. No longer will a trust be operating your franchise. No longer will the Broncos be in the pits of misery, dilly dilly, all that stuff. It's changing. This Walton-Penner winning bid and this team sale that's going to be wrapped up in the next 60 to 90 days per Adam Schefter should make Broncos country extremely excited. We're going to go why. We're going to go over those reasons why you should be excited tonight. But Nick, 4.65 billion to own the Denver Broncos.
We tried. We put up a bid. We put $5 supers. You guys helped us, but I guess we were not in the big boys club in the end. But that's not because Michael Ronquillo did not help us out here. Michael coming in right away saying, "Good evening, Nick and Luke, on the Mile High Insiders. Let's ride and go Broncos." Thank you so much, Michael. Hope you're doing well down there in Tucson. If I remember correctly, Michael also is a Walmart employee. So is Michael a member of
Oh,
the Denver Broncos?
cool.
Definitely something we can discuss here.
Well, yeah, Mike's got a vested interest in it then in this team, just like Broncos country does. Obviously, a ton of Walmart employees, but if you want to be cool, be like Mike, head on over to the huddleuppod.com store. You see Mike wearing some of that Huddle Up and Denver Broncos gear that we have rocking. You guys can grab yourself anything from a hat to a onesie for your baby, tea mugs or t-shirts, mugs, all kinds of good gear. But man, 4.65 billion. It's the Walton-Penner Group, but we all know this is headed, of course, by Rob Walton. Walmart Air, he was estimated to have what 70.4 billion before this sale. And he's definitely not tapped out either. The guy's not pinching pennies after landing this major deal. But what I would like Broncos country to focus on is the other half of this name, this family name, this Walton/Penner, because that's the official group. Penner, of course, being Greg Penner, the son-in-law, who's going all in with his wife, Rob Walton's daughter, Carrie Walton, on buying the Denver Broncos. So it's a real exciting time for Denver right now. It's exciting time for Broncos country all over the world. I know that we're talking about stadiums, we're talking about upgrades. Broncos country on the road. This directly affects you because Broncos country shows up and shows out on the road, Nick. You're going to be there week one, man.
Week 1, September 12th. I'll be there really high up, but luckily, even though there are mountains in Seattle, we're not at the altitude that you guys are, so I won't catch a nosebleed up at the top. But we got Chris Hernandez coming in here saying, with the support here, orange heart and a blue heart for the podcast listeners listening after the fact.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Chris.
much. Also, Phil coming in, Phil McLaughlin. Always good to see you, Phil. He says, "Good, Nick. Thank you. That's better than bad, Nick. Good, Nick, Luke, and Scott. Time to roll the roof back. LOL. Go Broncos." Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely. It's beautiful here in Seattle. We have an atmospheric river coming tomorrow, so I'm gonna soak in the sun today. But thank you so much, Phil. We appreciate you. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining us today. And thank you so much for the support on the show.
Yeah, that's awesome, Phil. Really appreciate it. Chris as well. Guys and gals that have been with us since the very beginning and are able to help get us here to Wednesday nights in the primetime spot here on MHI. I see what you did there, Phil. Time to roll back the roof back. And I'm wondering if Phil is hinting at what we're all wondering. Why doesn't Denver get a Super Bowl, Nick?
Why don't they? It's because it's a cold weather place. It's not like the biggest in the world. I mean, it's not like the prime time New York City that they're getting there, but mainly it's because of the cold weather and the chances of a snow Super Bowl, which, I wouldn't be against, but I think a
No.
lot of people, a lot of the players wouldn't be about. So,
Well,
you know,
Vegas would not be about it because you remember, was it last year's game, the Bills and the Patriots up there in Buffalo, that snow game that was
mhm,
just it was horrendous football, but I was entertained by it nonetheless.
yeah,
It's not one of those memorable games because it was great. It was just like, wow, this is kind of one of those simulations, if you will. But
yeah.
yeah, that's exactly it, man. You don't have the capacity and you don't have an indoor stadium. Tons of rumblings. There's been rumblings for years. With a new owner comes a new stadium. Well, this new owner, or at least this ownership group in the Walton-Penner group, they've got money to spend, and boy, have they already started spending it. Again, a United States record for a professional franchise, 4.65 billion is the agreed purchase price of the Denver Broncos. That's double what David Tepper paid for the Carolina Panthers at 2.275 billion in 2018. You guys can read all about that work. Zach Kelberman, I think, put up a really good article on milehighhuddle.com, kind of highlighting all of the numbers, the ins, the outs, some time frames, always subscription free. Again, that's milehighhuddle.com, and go ahead and click on that head story where you get to learn just a tad about Rob Walton, Kerry Walton, and Greg Penner. And we'll go ahead and continue to get you guys familiar with some of these names. But speaking of being familiar, I want to say what's up to some of our good friends, including Greg Smith, saying good evening, Broncos country. What's up, Greg? And our guy, Ernie Mays, has been with us since the beginning, one of the most passionate Broncos fans I know. Ernie, good evening. Thank you for joining MHI on your Wednesday night.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you, Ernie. We also have, of course, Kenneth coming in here, Kenneth Patterson, with a comment. In reality, this team belongs to his daughter and son-in-law, talking about Walton there. The old man could only be around for a few years, but they're going to be around for decades. There's no guarantees in this world, Kenneth, but you're probably right on that, Rob.
Kenneth, no
Walton,
relation. No
no.
relation. I'm just going to, no, thank you, Kenneth, for joining the show. I like that, right? The son-in-law and the old man. Well, that old man is 77 years old. He likes to stay in shape. He's pretty healthy from everything I understand. It's trying to get a read on a billionaire. I think if you got a read on a billionaire, then you would probably be a billionaire yourself, especially with these businessmen and business women that are coming with Rob Walton, including his daughter, Kerry Walton, who married Greg Penner. Now, I didn't know anything about Greg Penner really until today. I started doing some poking around, and turns out he was a Georgetown University graduate, earned his MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business, but he actually worked at Walmart, and he started as a store manager and worked his way up. He eventually was the CEO of the Walmart Japan brand, and he met Rob Walton's daughter, Kerry, who is very successful in her own right, I think, with the banking system, Chase, I want to say, here in the U.S. So this team, and I'm just naming three people, are just the who's who of money, the who's who of business, and they're going to be your Denver Broncos new owners.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that'll be great. There's obviously do you put anything into it? Also, I kind of do enjoy the. Oh, and brother Luke always disowns me. Ah, man,
Never,
that's
man, never. I just had to, I just wanted to say, because, sometimes my wife does join the show and likes to embarrass me, and we have friends pop on from time to time to support us and embarrass us and make us blush as well. So I just wanted to thank you for joining in on MHI, Kenneth. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kenneth. It's obviously the weird thing about the Waltons here. The more we dig into it, is the kind of crossover relationship with the Cronkies here. And obviously, Cronky is somewhat of a dirty name in Denver. At least it can be. It is more so in St. Louis, taking that team to the Rams. But I mean, the Cronkies have been in charge of some pretty formidable teams here over the recent years. Obviously, the Rams just dished out massive contracts. Cooper Kupp just got a new contract. Aaron Donald 2 days ago, Super Bowl champions. You also have the Avalanche on their way to the Stanley Cup. Nuggets have been pretty good as well, despite injury issues there. So
yeah, you get back-to-back MVPs in Nikola
yeah.
Jokic. I mean, like, people in this city are buzzing. I've got goosebumps with you saying all that. And Nick, I'm a football guy. I watch a little basketball occasionally. You're not going to catch me watching a ton of baseball, stuff like that. But man, this city is just reinvigorated. And speaking of reinvigorated, we are hearing from a friend that we have not heard from in a very long time. Pobby is coming in and blowing the doors off of MHI and our Super Chat Superstars. It's kind of like a Rob Walton bid. Really appreciate you, Pobby. Thank you so much. Pobby saying hello to my Mile High Huddle family, showing some love and showing some support. I can't stay. I hope everyone is doing well. Go Broncos. Pobby, I want to embarrass you for just a quick second and say congratulations and thank you. Pobby, I got to chat with her for just a second the other day, and she's doing some very exciting work in healthcare, and healthcare is near and dear to our hearts, Nick. So again, thank you, Pobby. Really appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pobby. That was incredible. God, I don't even know what to say. So Appreciate you so much. Hope you're doing well. It's okay that you can't stay, but we'll see you again next time. And don't forget to tune in afterwards. These shows obviously go recorded on YouTube and the podcast. So thank you so much, probably out there in Iowa, out there in central Iowa.
In
Hope you're
God's
doing well.
country for you, right, Nick? I mean, that's what
Go
you,
Hawks.
yeah, Iowa. Yeah, there you go.
No.
No, Bobby, that's super cool. And guys, we like to build friendships with our not only our listeners but new folks. There's no such thing as a stranger here at MHH. If you guys want to get at us, get at Nick at Nick Kendell MHH. If you'd like to chat with Scott at Scout Kennedy, yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. You could slide right into those DMs of ours. We're not going to care. We love rapping football, life. Become a friend, show some support, show some love, just have a conversation. If you're having a bad day, reach on out because we love hearing from you. Jay Kozad, another one of those supporters from the beginning, saying, I think we hit the jackpot with Walton. I'd take it over an ownership group pieced together.
I think I agree with this. It's really hard to project what the ownership is going to be. It's not like we get to analyze football data or watch tape of him being an owner.
It's
He's never
killing
been
you,
an
huh?
owner
It's
before.
killing you. You
It's
can't
just
have
the
any
unknown.
charts here.
No, I mean, we could look at like the Walmart stuff, but that doesn't, how translatable is that? But regardless, I think we did hit the jackpot as far as, I mean, 70, what is it, $770 billion? It doesn't even matter. Let's just move off by a tenth, but incredible. I mean, 7 times wealthier than the next richest NFL owner. And the Broncos are going to be able to build a monster as far as a fan experience, stadium, facilities, et cetera, et cetera. There's no cap. There's no salary cap on coaches. Also, any coach, training staff, scouts, they want to pay them, they can get it done. So going to be awesome about that. My one hang up is the age. Obviously, you mentioned it. I think 77 years old.
77. Mm-hmm.
Given what we just went through with the post Pat Bowlen era, the Pat Bowlen Trust era, that uncertainty does leave some issues. But I don't think it's as much of an issue with the Waltons as it was with the Bolins, because I don't think there's going to be much more of a contingency plan in place because they don't seem to have a Johnny Bolin-esque person in the wings that probably they wanted it to go to, that was obviously not in a position or a situation where that is a smart idea.
Well, and here's the thing too, before we say hello to our friend Gary, like it's a totally different thing to just inherit money and do nothing with it. It's another thing to inherit money and then make money from it. And I think that's what you could say about the Waltons. And I think that's what you could say about Greg Penner. And checking in with some folks right before I hopped on the show, don't be surprised if Greg Penner is a name that Broncos country gets to know right along with Rob Walton and Kerry Walton. He's not just the guy that married into the family for the money. He brought some money of his own to the table, not billions like Mr. Rob Walton, but this group, this Walton-Penner group, it's also, I'm trying to learn about it. It's like you said, Nick, it's unfamiliar waters for us. So sometimes it's intimidating learning about all these people, if I'm going to be real. And I can't remember the young lady's name. Maybe you can. George Lucas's wife, who is also part of this group. I mean, you've got like some superstars on this group of all different walks of business and life. I absolutely love it. Just like our superstar Gary Leeds Palmer coming in here, GLP, always showing that love, saying, hey, Luke, Nick, and Scott, we are now the richest franchise in the NFL. Laugh out loud. Go Broncos. Let's ride. And I'm going to put a hashtag let's spend, because it's about to be a spending spree here in Broncos country. I don't think you can tell billionaires no.
I don't know, but Gary Leeds Palmer, thank you so much, Gary. We appreciate you. It's definitely awesome to have the Broncos be the richest team. Obviously, it's not going to be like the Yankees versus the Tampa Bay Rays, where they can just spend 10 times as much of the Dodgers versus whoever they're going up against. But it should help the Broncos a heck of a lot, and it should make them also a lot more. The way they can kind of cheat around that is you can work signing bonuses and put as much money as you want up there on the front of the contract. So that should never be an issue like it can be for some teams that are a little bit more cash strapped than the Broncos. So should help a lot. Also, eating dead money, who cares? So Jake Kozad coming in. I think Walton will get his ducks in a row before he passes. You hope so. You think that would be, they'd learn from the Pat Bowlen, post Pat Bowlen / the fun or the trust era, but you never know. It's just one of those things where he's not coming in as 50-year-old and you're going to have the next 30 to 40 years with him. There probably needs to be a contingency plan in place. But who knows? He could be around for another 20 years and still at it.
Yeah, and there's contingency plans for billionaires. Okay, make no bones about it. The Bolin
Yeah.
family will not be hurting financially, but man, it's just we say it time and time again, and I can't begin to go there because you and I live in a world much like the rest of Broncos country that is different than the millionaires. But then there's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And these billionaires tend to have those ducks in the row. I appreciate that, Jay, because that's really important. This guy's the 19th richest billionaire on the planet. Okay, he's got a car collection worth $226 million. You divide that by however many cars he has. I mean, he could pay the minimum salary like it's chump change in
Yeah.
the NFL. This is just absolutely crazy. Obviously, we've got big pie in the sky dreams now that we've got this bank account full of what nines, a whole lot of zeros. I don't even know. But Tyler
Insanity.
Rogers is weighing in real quick because this is a really good question, Nick. Something that you and I have talked about. Broncos country is always on fire about. So, Tyler, thanks for joining the show. And Tyler asks, how receptive are you to new uniforms and logos? The only logo I'd want to see is the classic old one.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the old D. I'd be about it. Heck, we're talking about building a new stadium with a like convertible roof, and that just lends itself to high-powered offense. Let's have a little bit more splash in there. You know, I would rather keep the orange than go back to navy blue. I think the navy blue is somewhat tired. So many teams rock navy blue. There's only really in the NFL, I think only Broncos are orange. Kind of out there looking like the Bears or sometimes other college teams too. So I'd rather them keep the orange. Maybe go back to that old school D, maybe even a little bit lighter blue as well. I mean, those ones of Elway in the 80s rocking out there in the snow games and whatnot. I mean,
Ooh.
that's as good as it gets. They might be able to get a little bit of a fresher look. And I'm also fine moving on from the side swooshes. That just not for me. It looks like that fake, like how they depict things in Back to the Future. Like, oh, this is what future clothes are going to look like. That's not how it works. That's not how it looks now. Now it looks outdated and cheesy, sometimes, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I'd
No,
be down for the new uniform.
I like it, Tyler, and I agree with you, Nick. The For me, I can't help but think about the jersey that my grandpa got my mom years ago, and it's like her favorite jersey ever, Carl Mecklenburg, 77 Orange Crush. Speaking of Carl Mecklenburg, you can find all of these podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your pods. Be sure to go and listen to Thomas Hall's podcast. Last Friday, he had the
Mhm.
Broncos Ring of Famer Carl Mecklenburg on these very airwaves with his own podcast, Legends of Mile High. So get it, Thomas Hall, on Twitter, and go back and check that out. But no, I agree. It's kind of a new owner, a new look. I would imagine that maybe they would do some feelers. Maybe they would back in the day. I remember contests when you used to read this thing called the newspaper, where people would ask and open up for anything from job logos to interesting ideas. And there would be these contests, or sometimes you just get a pulse of the people. The people want something new, and the people can't
Yeah.
get enough of that orange. I absolutely love it. Zach Powers is coming in here saying, look, a new owner means a lot more cash the team will have to spend in free agency. What are some dream scenario free agent signings next year?
Ah, man, it's hard to say who's even going to be available at this point. But and also, even though their Broncos are going to have a lot of salary caps or a lot of cash, that doesn't mean they're going to have a lot of salary cap space. They're going to be battling the salary cap more so than actual cash available. That said, the ones that stick out to me are retaining some guys. Uh, One that immediately comes to mind, obviously, Russell Wilson's probably going to get a new contract next offseason. And then also you have questions about Draymond Jones, who I spoke earlier this week. One of my favorite players on the team. Love his press conferences, man. He does not pull any punches. He just kind of tells it how he sees it. No sugarcoating. So hopefully we get some more of him this season. And I think he's going to have a great year too. So he's one. And then one that's kind of interesting here would be Bradley Chubb as well. How good is he this season? Can you put the franchise tag on him? Is he going to be able to take an extension? Would you be willing to do that? A lot of questions there. Overall, looking at the roster, maybe they can back up the Brinks Chubb for a right tackle if it sounds like the right tackle has been an issue so far in camp. So we'll see about that. But really, the Broncos will have cash and that will help them, but they still have to get it done within the confines of the salary cap.
It's funny you mentioned right tackle because I'm looking at impending free agents, if you will, for 2023 per a very reputable website, Spot Rack, that we all kind of use. Jack Conklin is going to be available, right tackle from Cleveland. I don't know if he's the answer, but that right tackle is a revolving door. You see other names familiar. Connor McGovern, offensive line, don't know about that. Jason Kelsey, not quite sure. You got to see. But Zach, that's a great question. I would follow that question or answer that question with another one. Who does Russ Wilson want here? Because that's kind of where George Paton has really gone. George has certainly made decisions prior to Russell getting here, but definitely cares about Russell Wilson's opinion, leans on Russ, I think, more than people realize. But it's not a relationship based on power. I think it's a relationship based on hard work, where both guys know that they don't have to worry about the other one outworking each other, not holding their end of the bargain, not hungry to win. I think these guys, George Paton and Russell Wilson, are so competitive. And Nathaniel Hackett, I think we're going to learn that this season as well. With these three at the helm, they're going to make decisions together. The ultimate word is going to come from George Paton and maybe now Rob Walton, now that we're going to have an owner. But Adam Schefter said, pump the brakes. Look, it's going to take a little time for all the I's to get dotted, T's to get crossed. I mean, my Lord, you close on a house, that feels like it could take forever. Try closing on a $4.65 billion NFL franchise. It's going to take between 60 and 90 days. Again, Schefty said he doesn't expect there to be any hiccups, but that to me is right around, the middle of camp ish, end of camp ish, right near the new season. I mean, we could see exciting changes a lot sooner than people think.
Yeah, no, it's I'm just glad it's all finally coming to a head so we can refocus on football. And so much turnover in Denver this year. New head coach, new quarterback, new franchise quarterback at that even. And now the richest owner in sports. I guess not sports because Ballmer, I think, is more wealthy than Rob Walton. But other than that, man, really exciting times for Denver. And you know who's just got to be irritated about it? The rest of the AFC West, man. They just got to be so annoyed. The Broncos have been thorn in their butt since the 80s. Definitely the team to talk about in the division. And obviously it's been the Chiefs division here for a little bit now. But the spotlight's now on Denver. People are talking about the Broncos, and as it should be. It feels right in the world with all of that coming here, and Broncos getting themselves a quarterback, richest owner in sports. It's going to be good. Good times are coming ahead for Denver and Broncos country.
Well, and how's this? Everybody remember that fire last spring, last winter, whatever it was, at Empower Field? I mean, the jokes, the memes, the Russ Wilson. It was around then, I think. But there were articles, and I remember a whole bunch of our friends in the media that you and I, or some of our peers, are putting out there saying this team is really worried about getting the stadium finished by kickoff. Well, look, folks, with Mr. Walton here, I'm not worried. A billionaire is going to make sure that his stadium looks good on the very first game that he has as the owner of the Denver Broncos. Those seats, those burnt seats, and the water damage that we talked about on this show, it's going to be cleaned up in time. Money tends to clean those issues up rather quickly. Just like Miguel Santisteban coming in with a $5 super chat rather quickly. We appreciate you so much, Miguel. You guys being able to donate not only your time, but your monetary support helps us keep the lights on here at MHI, here at MHH, and we really appreciate you guys. What's up, fellers? It's been a minute. I'm hoping for a stadium with a retractable roof and grass. I'm tired of ACL tears. This is a really good point. And if we could leave this up for just a second, Scott, there's something about it, right? With players, they sometimes are bothered by playing on turf. I know Von Miller had a thing about it. I think Chubb kind of has a thing about it, but those are sort of things that are outside of players' control. But you would think if you're an owner, you would at least weigh the pros and cons of injuries, stats, where it happens on the field, grass versus turf, things of those natures.
Yeah, there's definitely something to talk about it, and also a lot of players prefer the grass fields, but it takes a little bit more maintenance, obviously out there in the elements. And in Denver, water shortages, some issues with that. A little more costly to do that, but
It's
shouldn't be
horrible.
an issue with the Waltons. I mean, you're a lawn guy, so
I'm a lawn guy, dude, and I'm telling you, when they give me my water schedule, I get so mad because we already pay ridiculous prices out here in Roxborough, where I live, for water. But no, man, this billionaire, he'll pay for water, he'll pay for
yeah,
whatever he needs. But I do like what Miguel's saying. A stadium with a retractable roof, you've got to have that, right? When Peyton
yeah.
came, he said he loves the weather here. Athletes stay, they live here, they train here. You got to somehow be able to utilize and capitalize the beauty of Broncos country here in the Mile High City but also be able to protect your fans a little bit. And
Yeah.
Nick, the Broncos country, you know, they're tougher than a $2 steak. They will sit there in the rain, in the snow, as long as it's competitive and exciting, winning football. Broncos country is going to ride with this team, and I think the owner's going to see that and reward them here in a couple years with a new stadium.
I hope that new stadium has better drainage. I was at the game in, what is it, 2017, 2018 when the Rams came to town. It was the Bradley Chubb 3-sack game, and I swear I was standing in 6
Feet
inches of
soaked.
slush water. I
Yeah.
had my hiking boots, luckily, because I was coming out and doing some
That's
stuff out there, but
I was just gonna
unbelievable.
ask you, dude, because that's how you know, at least for me, like when I usually try to only go to the cold weather games. I really enjoy the cold weather games.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at someone and they've got like their best Jordans on or their best boots, like dress boots on, I'm like, oh no, those are gonna get trashed because it's wool socks and hiking boots, man.
Yep.
It's because, like you said, your
Absolutely.
feet get wet, you don't care, you're there screaming, you got a cold pop in your hand with either your friends around you or your family. And talk about that. I mean, we're going from no shows to a packed house. You're going to see
Yeah.
primetime games. You're going to see Mr. Walton capitalize off of those primetime games. I think you're going to see a whole new side of revenue. Now, immediately we start thinking about jobs at the stadium, whether that be concessions, maintenance, security, building engineers, advertising, merch. But then you're going to see a lot of trickle down from private businesses that have struggled the last couple of years, Nick, as you know, restaurants, convenience stores, liquor stores, bars, things of that nature. I think you're going to really see Broncos country spend some more money, specifically in Colorado. But these
Mhm.
fans that travel, Nick, I mean, my guy Jason Boland's already hitting me up saying, dude, I'm going to the Kansas City game in prime time. I can't wait. Broncos fans fly and spend
Yeah.
money, spend their hard earned money to watch this team night in and day out. And it's exciting when Broncos country is back in the fold and they're spending their hard earned dollars on what we expect to be a winning product, because that's ultimately what you want. You want to be rewarded for the team that you support. And the best way to be rewarded is hoisting that Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah, and heck, even Super Bowl number 1, but let's more enjoyable football, just a better product. The product has been so bad over the last 5 seasons too. So even if they don't win that Super Bowl, the game is going to be much more enjoyable. There's actually real reason to believe, other than you're a fan, you're going to believe in them no matter what. Now there's tangible reasons to believe in this team, and we got Karen coming in here saying I was at the Patriots game in November of our Super Bowl 50 season. I remember that game well.
Wow.
The C.J. Anderson toss play.
In the snow.
It was
Yep.
really cold and snowing, and my feet got wet. Probably my favorite Broncos game ever. Now I own boots just for that. Yeah, Gore-Tex is your friend. I will say that. You want to make those things breathe. If you get wet inside your boots with Gore-Tex, gotta let those guys breathe. Take out the insoles after you use them as well. But absolutely, man, what a game! I remember that. I was working at a restaurant slash bar at that point, and I shut it down and I stayed for like 2 hours after close in the dark with the TVs on in there watching that game just alone because I'm psychopath, watching the
Is
game,
it
freaking
isn't
out.
it isn't it funny how you remember exactly where you were and what
Yeah.
you were doing in these Broncos moments that are so pivotal for us? And thanks, Karen, for sharing that moment and joining us here on MHI. I was sick as a dog, man, with this nasty flu, and I remember I was the only one up, and I had a new baby at the time, and was trying not to wake my wife, warm my baby up. We're living in this tiny house at the time, and you just remember all of those good memories. Those are coming
Mhm.
back, Broncos country. It's been bad memories, right? The last few years. It's been nodding off on the couch watching the games, if you watch the games at all. It's doing chores, honeydew lists. No more. Broncos country is back. We're getting the ownership figured out officially here in the next 60 to 90 days. But look, the Broncos have got themselves an ownership group in the Walton-Penner group, headed, of course, by Rob Walton, Walmart Air. Paul, our guy, 800-26 weighing in. Where would be the best place for a new stadium? If you're asking me, I would say build right now where you are. Brittany Bolin was already trying to turn that portion of where Empower Field is into a more centralized Broncos location. That being said, I think it's heading east. I think it's going to DIA. I can tell you right now, Rob Walton's already bought a ton of real estate here in Cherry Creek, folks. I mean, this is weeks before this announcement even happened yesterday that this bid was the winning bid. He's been buying stuff up, and that's just residential stuff in Cherry Creek. It makes me wonder if he's already, prospecting land out there by DIA.
I mean, Arkansas to Colorado. I have no disrespect to Arkansas, but I'd rather live in the mountains if I was Rob too at the end. So, and owning a football team. So, gonna be great. How about make them play at altitude. How about the tops of Pikes Peak, or make them climb up to Long's Peak or something like that. There's a couple of
Estes
great valleys.
Park. Let's put
Estes
it in
Park,
Estes Park. A moose could wander on out there,
be
be
great.
right there in nature. That would be cool. And sometimes you see those stadiums, especially in college. And I remember in high school, I got to play at Boulder High School a few different times. It was my favorite stadium of all time because the scenery, the mountains, it's just amazing. But it also makes me wonder about advertisement. I don't know what Empower Field has, how many years or what the rights are. But remember when the Broncos struggled to find a name to put on that stadium? That's not going to happen anymore. I mean, all of these things are gone with the big Walmart boss, Rob Walton, here in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got the pharmacist saying cash over cap. Go listen to Andrew Brandt interview on the McAfee show today. Salary cap ain't nothing. You still have to deal with the parameters of the salary cap, but you can continually kick the can down the road. But at some point, eventually, the rooster does come home to roost. I mean, you kind of maybe covering the Falcons with Scott has kind of got me biased towards that instead of the Saints, who just continually kick the can down the road. If you have the cash, you can get ahead of it and keep betting that the salary cap will continue to get bigger and you can pay that out later and keep kicking the can down the road. Kind of like, what is it? Our national, I think about it like our national debt. It's bigger, but hey, we're going to make money off it now. So it's okay. But talking out my butt, I don't know nothing about the national debt. But definitely go ahead.
Scott's updating us because neither one of us know about naming rights or, we'd be billionaires too if we knew about all the world's finances. But thanks, Scott. 21-year contract with Empower. So maybe Empower sticking around for a little bit, but obviously there's probably some outs in there. Options. When you're a billionaire, you've got options. But Nick, you mentioned something I wanted to go back to, and that's the ties to the Cronkies. And that's a really big thing too, because Robert's cousin Ann is married to Stan Kroenke, as you know, but his son Josh is here in town running the Avalanche, running the Nuggets. Of course, Stan has no affiliation with those things, being an NFL owner with the Rams. But I don't know if it's monopolizing, but it feels like now you've really got a royal family, if you will, here in Denver and Colorado with the Waltons, the Cronkies, and now Greg Penner's going to be super involved. I mean, it's like a new silver spoon just rolled into town. Obviously there's some news, there's opinions about Walmart and things like that, but right now it doesn't seem like there's a ton of mud or any mud on some of these names. It just seems like all positive reviews. And I think Broncos country is really excited to be done with the Joe Ellis trust era.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really happy to move forward with this. And also the fact that we don't have to talk about it anymore. Obviously, the Waltons, you can have your opinions on Walmart. Pretty much everybody who was betting on this team was going to have some probably issues in the background of how they obtained their wealth. But what are the facts? We now have the richest owner in the NFL. It's all coming to a conclusion, and it looks like they have Walton is definitely the head of the ownership group. There's other people involved too that are very interesting. And one that we haven't talked about yet, Luke, also, but apparently all these people, all these ownership groups, and it would include Walton there, also reached out to Peyton Manning about being involved in the ownership group or the team in some way. Do you have any thoughts on that? We talked about it earlier, and we have Mr. Grape coming in saying bring Manning in for a key front office role. I'm not sure if he'd be in a key front office role. That's more of a George Payton purview. Obviously, Walton signing the checks, but Payton's done a pretty good job in 1 year, 2 off seasons that I don't think I'd be looking to take away from power from him. I'd be empowering him. Shout out to the stadium
I see what you did there.
But Manning, definitely it's interesting that he could be involved.
Yeah, well, Cliff put out an interesting tweet a few days ago, and I wrote about it a few weeks ago on myhuddle.com, that Manning and Elway have just been kind of biding their time, waiting to figure out what ownership group would win the bid or owner. It's going to be Walton-Penner. We know that now, and obviously Peyton Manning wants to be involved. Obviously, John Elway still wants to be involved. To what capacity, I'm not sure. George Payton, like you said, he has got control of this front office. And I just can't imagine a world where George Payton and could coexist with Peyton Manning. Not because they don't like each other, not because it wouldn't work. just because I think that there are some natural learning curves and they're at different points in their career. You look at George Payton, who has worked his way up from a scout to finally being a GM. Just because Peyton Manning's a Hall of Famer, one of the best football minds, if not the best football mind that has ever lived, doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to come right into the Denver Broncos organization and have it all figured out. Look at John Elway. John Elway needed some time, and had to take some tutelage, if you will, from some old folks that people tend to forget, the Ted Sunquists of the world, some of these other old dogs. And now you look at his buddy, John Elway's buddy, Matt, I'm forgetting the last name, Russell, going to Philly, so I mean, they're just at different points. I don't know what's going to happen. Don't be surprised if something doesn't happen right away, because Peyton is very methodical, he's very deliberate, and he likes to know what his options are as well. And no one's in a desperate situation there. I will think it's revealing, and I'm curious more about the Elway angle, because to me it seems like Elway's kind of being shoved out, and that's pure speculation, not hearing anything, but it seems like they've shown him the door, thanks John, and now I'm not so sure they want to keep that door open for a possible return.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Elway would, any seat he wants in the house, he can have. If you want to sit in and hang out with us, that's fine. But just because he is a legend in Denver and always will be, and you 3 Super Bowls, all of them can you can directly point to Peyton Manning, or excuse me, John Elway. But you're definitely right. It does seem like they're kind of, thanks, John. You're still here. Okay, it's getting late. Maybe you should go home, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see what happens with Elway. The thing with Peyton Manning that would confuse me, it sounds, my understanding was he always was more interested in the personnel side of things, the president of operations kind of things, where in Denver, this is the George Payton show. And as much as I love Peyton Manning, I love Peyton Manning. It's my favorite player that's ever played, honestly, in the NFL. But right now, I'm very happy with George Payton, and I don't think there's any reason to shuffle things up there. I do think George Payton, would like to bring in as many intelligent people as possible, people he can listen to. But I'm also not looking to do anything that would disrupt the power structure too much, because I think we have a good thing going here. And if you ask me, the face of the Broncos right now, a lot of people in general would say Russell Wilson, obviously the quarterback, married Sierra, always putting out the corny as they are. I guess I'd rather have the corny than what's going on in Cleveland right now. But I'm not looking to do anything. I think George Payton, as far as I'm concerned, he is the face of the Broncos right now. He's the dude pulling the strings, and he's the leadership, as far as I can see, with this team and this organization.
Yeah, I think you said that very well. I think George Payton kind of has a thankless job, if you will, in terms of an executive, right? Yeah. Because a player doesn't make it, then he's the bad guy, or look, hell, he was the bad guy when he drafted Pat Surtain. If we're going to be honest, if people want to be really honest with themselves, he was the bad guy then. But either way, it's just, we got to see what Peyton wants. We don't know what he wants. They're trying to build something right now with those new people over there at UC Health Training Center. I guess there is a good time, since everybody's new, if Peyton wants to jump in, I guess, but we got to wait and see. Speaking of jumping in, Michaela Parker, a Super Chat superstar, is jumping in with some kind Super Chat donation, $9.99. Appreciate that so much, Michaela. Great show, gentlemen. You guys rock.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michaela. Also loving that Demaryius Thomas jersey you have going there on your profile picture. Shout out to you. Hopefully you're doing well, and thank you so much. We have DH3 coming in saying, I'm very nervous about the hire. Not in a bad or good way, just nervous. Hope we're in good hands. So not a hire, but
interesting
new ownership group. But
why is that, DH3? And get back at us. You're very nervous, maybe because you don't. You know what? I like this. That you're nervous. We should be nervous. We don't know what we're getting. We're pretending that we're going to get a billionaire who's going to come in here and love to spend money because he has a car collection. What if you get a tightwad? I like this question a lot, or this comment rather. What if you get a meddling owner, a la Jerry Jones, or some Raiders owner that we don't speak of? Those type of things set franchises back. Those type of things get in the way. And this is a really, really good comment that, wait a second, before it's all just lollipops, rainbows, and dollar bill, y'all, we got to figure out, is this guy a spender? Who is he? Pinching pennies, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, and it's just the fear of the unknown, right? But I will say, we do not know how this is going to be. And now that he has control, there's really no there's not a division of powers, right, with there. So the change is uncertain, and there's not any sort of fallback. What he does and what he goes, it's his call, it's his team, it's his money. So it can go down the wrong path, but we're gonna find out at some point. And I would say that the unknowns that we have we're always going to be there no matter who the ownership came in. It's just the change was going to happen, and there were going to be unknowns until we find out. But he is wealthy. He, as heck, gosh, the wealthiest owner in the NFL,
Right.
and you're going to have means to empower this team and invest in multiple different ways. Invesco, if you will. Also, we're getting all the stadium pun names in here, but no, I think you are right to be nervous about it, but also the questions that we have had or could have had, the ones that are the most important, I think we've answered. So we're not worried about him squeezing every single penny out of this. I don't think so, at least. Do you, Luke? I mean,
No.
you mentioned it there. I don't think so. This is a pet project.
No, I don't think so, because this guy was ready to throw down a $4
Yeah.
billion bid to start. And
Yeah.
that's nothing to scoff at. He was the biggest player at this table, and we knew it before the poker game even started. This guy was walking away with the table. And you don't do that by being a tightwad. Again, you got to spend money to make money in this life, folks. Now, the risk comes in that investment. What are you going to spend money on?
Mhm.
What's that ROI going to look like? When do you expect to get an ROI, if any? Can you afford to take a loss? All those sort of things. These billionaires have not only have they figured out some of it, if they have a team. They learn how to delegate, they learn how to hire, they learn how to cross platform, if you will. um, some of the most successful athletes that are business folks, and I think of like LeBron James, off the top of my head, Jay-Z, even celebrities or musicians, they have folks that they employ for specific jobs. They have the lawyer for the taxes. They have um, the personal lawyer for, God forbid, they got in a civil suit or trademarks or royalties. They've got an accountant over here. They've got all this team. And when you've got this team, that shows that you're able to delegate responsibility. And to me, that's a real big, strong sign of a strong leader.
Yeah. No, and that's a big one here. And then that's one of the things I was going to get to on this comment here from, I so swore I had it here, from Jerry R. Pettis coming. I don't recognize that name. So hello, Jerry. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Happy hump day.
What's up,
And
Jay?
he says ownership depends on how the owner feels about the team. Owner needs to prioritize winning over everything else. Just look at the Cardinals under Billy Bidwell for years. And continues on about Bidwell, saying Bidwell wanted to squeeze out every dollar possible with minimal investment. They were always under the cap by a lot, going cheap. Luckily, there is a cap floor now to kind of keep that from happening. But you're right. That is definitely important to an ownership group prioritizing winning. But you have examples of owners who have either been too hands on, too hands off, that prioritize winning, that it doesn't always happen. This is a very competitive league, 32 other teams, and you can have a good owner. Doesn't guarantee success. Definitely helps. But, the Falcons with Arthur Blank, that's a team that is
Yeah.
devoid of talent right now, but overall,
Mhm.
not completely devoid, but they're in a rough spot. They're going to get better here, but the negative salary cap, all the dead cap. You have the Jacksonville Jaguars with Khan, who is a very wealthy owner as well, doing everything right to empower the people around him. They've
Spends
been,
lots, right?
yeah, and the laughing stock, absolute laughing stock, the Jags have been. And also you have just talked about it, the second wealthiest owner in sports with Carolina. They're doing a lot to
Pepper.
invest in Tepper. Yep, David Tepper, doing a lot to invest in that team and the organization. And so far, the results have been poor. Jerry Jones, very wealthy, very involved, wants to win above everything else. But sometimes, he's maybe has a little bit of the, what's it called? Dunning Kruger, where he thinks he knows more about football than he actually does, and not
Or
listening and empowering smart people around him, rather, taking control. So there's a line, for sure.
or totally align, or you have children that you just claim that you don't know anything about, and that's
Yeah.
the world we're living in. Let's get to Phil McLaughlin here, saying praise Chubb's performance right now, Bradley Chubb, that is. Let's just pray he stays healthy. Also, it's great to hear Hackett and his wife Carrie. Hackett, Greg, and his wife Carrie will be running the day-to-day ops. Tells me that good things are coming ahead, realizing his age. Yeah, I wanted to just read a statement that the Walton Penner, I don't know, group, I guess if you would call them, put
Yeah.
out about 12 hours ago or 24 hours ago on Tuesday night, saying, quote, "We are thrilled to be selected to move forward with the purchase of the Denver Broncos. Carrie, his daughter, Greg, his son-in-law, and I are inspired by the opportunity to steward this great organization in a vibrant community full of opportunity and with passionate fans. Here's something that I thought was interesting, Nick, in this quote: having lived and worked in Colorado, we've always admired the Broncos. Our enthusiasm has only grown as we've learned more about the team, staff, and Broncos country over the last few months. So not only are you getting an ownership team slash group that has lived and worked here in Colorado, but they understand the culture. They understand the highs. They understand the lows. They just, I'm sure, have seen the lows with Vic Fangio, Vance Joseph, Joe Ellis, the trust. Then they saw the high in getting Russell Wilson with George Payton here. They've been through some of the roller coaster with Broncos country. So that makes me feel good because at least they're not coming in just completely blind, foreign to Colorado, no roots, no nothing, no family. I mean, it seems like these folks have done some research. They've lived, they've worked in Colorado. They're a part of this fan base, and now they own this team.
Yeah. And definitely good. The first part of Phil's comment here, and thank you for the support again, Phil. We appreciate you. Chubb's been wrecking it so far in camp. It sounds like he's healthy. Sounds like he's confident, and just got to stay healthy, like you said. But nobody wants to stay healthy more than Chubb because a lot of money is going to be determined on how healthy and how productive he is this season. Could be massive. You're talking, you could make twice as much money if he's healthy this year and has a big season. So pulling for that and pulling for Chubb because he's a Bronco and hoping for the best. And also seems like a really intelligent, well-spoken individual. So excited about his prospects going forward. Also, intelligent individual coming in here, Andrew Baker, saying, "What's up, MHI and Broncos country? Getting ready for our trip back home to the same sweet
Same
place
old
home. Oh,
place.
sweet home Chicago." All right. Well, be careful. I just saw a report the other day that Chicago is the most rat-infested city in the United States. So look out for that.
Jesus, Nick.
I have to give a hard time to Chicago because I
That's
absolutely despise the Cubs. I hate them.
okay. I've never been to Chicago, Andrew. I did not know that about you, man. Andrew's been one of our guys since the beginning too. Andrew, rep the real orange and blue out there. Whatever you do in that rat infested land, bring that some Broncos gear. I know you got that Pookie jersey on because it really pisses me off when I see the Bears do their like alternate orange thing, or the Browns do their like, come on, man, you guys aren't doing that. I mean, the Bengals try, okay, I get it, right? You can't really have anything except an orange tiger, right? Whatever. But no, man, safe trip back home, Andrew Baker. We appreciate that, man. I wanted to grab one more here.
Actually, why don't we have a white tiger uniform? That would be way cooler. I mean, that'd be just all whites
A
with a
white
white helmet
tiger
for the
like
Bengals.
Were you a fan of the white Power Ranger who wasn't he a tiger or like a
I think so.
special
Yeah, I
Tommy?
think so.
Because he was a mix, man. He was like the white Power Ranger, but then he turned to the green Power Ranger sometimes. And I
Yeah.
never really understood the mix up. But Power Rangers, football, heck, you're watching MHI here on your Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Mountain is the start time. Get at Nick on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. And here's one for you, Nick, from William, real quick. I'm in Illinois, Nick, and I don't like Chicago at all. So there you go. You got some Illinois folks saying stay out of the big city every once in a while. Come visit the smaller cities. And I'll just throw in a promo real quick. I visited like a little artisan shop over the weekend, got some cool little knickknacks and comic books and stuff like that, man. Support local business. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see some local businesses get supported here in Broncos country with the Walton-Penner group.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to be honest, I love Chicago. I just despise the Cubs and seeing their gear walking around town. Just can't stand it. It's probably
and how
Cubs.
can you go ahead?
I was saying Cubs the worst, followed by the Nebraska Cornhuskers, then the Raiders. And I hate the Raiders, but like those other two.
Really? Those two are above the
It's
Raiders.
proximity. How many Raiders fans do I actually run into? None. But a lot of Cubs and Nebraska fans. So
I don't know, Nick. You better watch Twitter, man. Those trolls are out there in full out there for Raiders Nation. It was weird, man, when I went out there for the Shrine last January. They have so much Raider stuff, like all these Raider stores in every casino. There's no one in them. Nobody's in them. All this fresh gear looks cool. Nobody's buying it. So pretty interesting. But the Raiders, nobody needs that.
Yeah, gross. I mean, do like the black and silver, but they're gross in general. I wouldn't pick that. Mark coming in saying, Mark from Georgia How you doing? He says, "What's up, guys? 999 super. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Hashtag buy Joe Ellis. Hashtag buy John Elway. Hashtag go Walmart Broncos." Yeah, I hope maybe they can get some real jerseys in those Walmart stores or something. Who knows? But
Yeah, they wouldn't be affordable then, Nick.
no, that's true. But they got to roll back the prices, right? That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Andrew's saying he's a Cubby, but repping the Broncos first. Okay, you're okay with me. It's I just got to rep my guys. I'm a St. Louis Cardinals, birds on the bat. Also got Chris Jenkins saying, go Huskers, go Hawks. I'm making a lot of friends today on the show, but
Go
this
Huskers. N is for knowledge. I'm a Buffs guy here, so take your pokes if you will. But I remember the Thanksgiving tradition used to be you get your leftover turkey, all your crap, and then you watch the Buffs and the Huskers. That was awesome, man. That meant a lot to me as a little kid because sometimes you got those rivals that you just can't stand. Mark coming back in. Mark from Georgia. Appreciate that. Mark, I'm wondering if you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan because I know those Bulldogs pretty decent, right? And they get some NFL players drafted this past year, saying maybe hashtag used toilet bowls can take a Walmart discount when he has another contract extension. Sorry, guys, just for old laughs. Mark's a comedian, man, and I absolutely love it. There's all kinds of little memes and stuff going around. And Mark, I appreciate the support. I know Nick and Scott do as well. I was wondering if they're going to give out vests, to all the stadium workers. They were already blue. Maybe you could come up with some orange vests. Jeremy coming in here too, saying, "Hey, bring back the throwbacks. We got rollbacks." Joke if you will, but billions of dollars, man, that ain't nothing to joke about, nothing to play about. One thing I wanted to bring up as we start to wrap up MHI, Nick, a lot of the NFL owners usually go through this gauntlet of a process when they decide a new owner is being selected or chosen for the brotherhood, if you will. How happy is Roger Goodell and the rest of the 31 other clubs that just got one of the richest men in the planet into their business?
they got to be happy. Don't want to turn this into the anything PC related, but they put out all that stuff about wanting minority owners and everything. Obviously, that could never have happened in this case with the Broncos, with Walton bidding compared to who else was. But I do think they probably. I'm going to take them at their word that they probably would like a minority majority owner at some point. But overall, they got to be pretty darn happy for sure. I mean, Walton's coming into the fan. It sounds like they've wanted Walton for a while. Also, what does this say about the Broncos? The fact that the Broncos came for sale. There's been other teams come up and been available and jumped on the Broncos instead. So I think this speaks well to Denver being a very interesting team, one that has a big brand, one that has a large footprint. Colorado is definitely an area. Some of the locals will probably be upset about this, but an area that people are trying to move to. My generation, our generation, Luke, wants to go to Denver in the Colorado area. It's an exploding area in general. So getting in on that bodes well for the Broncos, bodes well for that area in general, being a destination city and a place that people want to be and be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of being a part of, a name that we really haven't talked about is Melody Hopson, and she's going to be an addition to this group as well. Folks know her best for probably her famous husband, but she is an extremely successful businesswoman in her own right. She's married to George Lucas. Some people might have heard of, huge Star Wars nerd here. But in the statement as well, the Waltons had stated, quote, "We are excited to announce that Melody Hopson, co-CEO of Ariel Investments, has agreed to join our ownership team. Beyond her role at Ariel, Melody is an influential leader in corporate and civic organizations across the nation." So the NFL does talk about diversity. The Broncos are able to land themselves not only a solid businesswoman and team, but they continue to make strides in not only just talking about it, but being about it. You see a number of women employed with the scouting department, the coaching staff, anything from marketing, media. Now you're seeing it with the brass, the Broncos brass. And I absolutely love it. I think it's taking this team, modernizing it, if you will. It's giving action to some words that have been really hollow, I think, for a lot of time. And then you get the Star Wars memes too, right, with the Broncos. And I'm just pumped about that. So really, really excited to have this new group here that obviously includes Melody Hopson, who's going to be very involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have another super coming in from Mark from Georgia saying, yes, Luke Patterson, not Linkin Park. I am. Go Dogs.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about Linkin Park, dude, I love Linkin Park. It was one of the first albums I've ever bought on my own was Hybrid Theory. And
Mm.
I remember the other two that I bought with it too. I think one was POD, if you remember them. They were horrible.
Yeah.
And then there was like, I think speaking of horrible, and this will embarrass me, I think it was Creed. I think I bought a Creed album too. But Linkin Park, man, absolutely awesome. RIP to Chester. We grew up with Linkin Park, Nick, and man, that would have been on the list, man, on the bucket list to see of great bands. You know, for me, it'd be like Beastie Boys, Linkin Park, all those different cats. But we're starting to wrap up the show, guys. We've got about another 5 more minutes. Broncos country has definitely sounded off, and it sounds like it's pretty positive with these folks in terms of Rob Walton, Walmart heir, and new future Broncos owner, along with his daughter, Carrie Walton-Penner, and her husband, Greg Penner. Whispers, Greg Penner is going to be very involved in terms of day-to-day ops. Rob Walton will have to see his level of involvement. Obviously, the man knows how to delegate and run a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Roy coming in saying, sorry, Nick, Huskers over the Hawkeyes. Hasn't been that way in what, six
Here we go.
In a row, but other than that, no. You know what? I got some respect for the Huskers fans, man. The fact that they go to that stadium and make it, what is the third? It would be the third largest city in the state of Nebraska.
It's impressive.
It is impressive. I do think that the landscape of college football right now makes it that Nebraska returning to what they were in the early 90s is probably never going to happen. But still, nobody can take away those trophies that you won in those good years also at the same time. So definitely a good rival. And it's always good. There's a reason that I like beating Nebraska so much. It's because they're such a reputable program. And if Iowa's beating them, it means Iowa has some strength as well.
Oh,
so
they've been on the up, man, for as long as we've been doing the show together. And before that, I mean, here's the thing too. And I'll ask you, would you be comfortable? And so I'm a Buffs fan, and I'm going to answer right now. I would not be comfortable going to a Cornhuskers game in like CU gear. Would you? Are you down to rep the yellow and black and the really? I feel like that's dangerous. Those people. Oh man, those Husker fans. They're gnarly, man. They're so crazy about their stuff. I don't know that I would do it. I don't know. I'm too scared to piss off a bunch of Husker fans.
I just don't respect myself enough to care. You know, it's that kind of thing. So no,
I like it.
It'd be fine. It's all in good fun. But all it takes is one idiot to make a bad time, and that idiot could be me. You never know. But definitely it's all in good fun. Really excited about Rob Walton, excited about the conclusion of this ownership search. And we had a lot of questions coming into this offseason. I mean, crazy. Just think about 6 months ago, Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater versus Drew Lock. Is Vic Fangio going to stick around? Lord knows what's going to happen with the ownership group. Blah, blah, blah.
Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's, like Aaron Rodgers watch just happened too, man. Yep. I mean, like, who are they going to get in the draft? Are they going to draft a quarterback? Are they going to get a pass rusher in their first round pick? I mean, wow.
Yep. How things have changed and pretty much consistently best case scenario has played out for the Broncos. I mean, got the head coach seemed like the number one anybody wanted. That is also just like super relatable, fun guy, really easy to cheer for. Awesome. Yeah. You trade for Russell Wilson with everything that's happened surrounding Deshaun Watson and just the Aaron Rodgers annoyance coming on. Awesome. And now you walk away with the best owner, or the richest owner in American football. Amazing how quickly things have turned around. Crazy to show that your circumstances in life, just in general, for a team, but just in general, can change quickly. So glad you guys have stuck around. And for those of you who had followed us for a long time, thank you for sticking around with us for a while. But things are just going to get better here because we have some real, actual hope, legitimate direction for this franchise going forward. The last 6 years have been rough. Last 7 years have been rough, but things are going to get a lot better in a hurry. So make sure you guys are staying tuned here. Make sure you're following Luke and I on Twitter. Luke is at Luke Patterson LP. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also make sure you're following us at MHI_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, check out our store at huddleuppod.com. Go get your swag on, as Chad likes to say. We got the hats here. We got coffee mugs. We got the caricature shirts of the football priests, et cetera, et cetera. Check it out.
Why don't we have those? Well, you know what? Like, I'm not saying that I'm, a beautiful man or anything, but a cartoon of this face, who wouldn't want that on their shirt?
I think that I might be already too cartoonish as it is, so they couldn't capture. It's like, oh, it's just that's what he looks like in real life, or they're just gonna go really hard on like the gap on my teeth. I'm gonna look like Michael Strahan or something. But
No way, man. You have that James when he takes the hat off, he's got the James Palmer hair and everything. Yeah, I got the face for radio here. So yeah, head on over to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Up Pod. Guys, tomorrow the Huddle Up Boys will be back, but we've got so many shows going on right now. Non-subscription based writing, video breakdown, podcast. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Karen has been just an absolute gem in the chat and supporting us, saying, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, please. Dylan Von Harks, another one of our guys. DVA has been pumping it out for us behind the scenes. You guys don't see what Dylan does, and we do. And Dylan, huge thank you, man. Appreciate all the work you're doing. Great work, by the way. You guys can read Dylan's work at milehighhuddle.com. Great conversation as always, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out because a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you. We appreciate all you guys coming in. And Jeremy pretty much
I had to throw this up here, man, because I feel like this wraps up our show.
Exactly. General manager, check. Head coach, check. Quarterback, check. Owner, check. Some argue there are 4 pillars to a franchise. I'm going to argue there's 5.
What are we missing?
The fan base as well. Fan base is the last one to bring it home. That's
check.
You guys. We appreciate you. Broncos got all 5. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. We will see you tomorrow morning for Broncos for Breakfast with Scott and I. Until then, you guys have a great one. Choose kindness, choose compassion. Go Broncos.
Get money.